start this thing?
Let's do it. Let's rock and roll.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Metacast podcast. As the podcast that explores itself, explores ourselves, and explores the self in general. My name is Ty. I'm going to be your host. And today I'm joined by my allegorical co-host Distance and our enigmatic guest Craig. Tonight we are going to discuss a movie that we recently watched and I fell in love with, and I think I recommended to my two friends here. And I don't know if they like it or if they just find it that there's enough there to talk about. But we're going to be talking about the 2017 movie The Killing of a Sacred Deer by writer-director Yorgos Lanthimos is the best effort I could give with that pronunciation.
In case you're wondering, he doesn't spell his last name with a question mark.
No, there is a question mark in there. Oh, there's not. That was just a smudge on my screen. Okay.
Oh, typo. Right. He'll read whatever's on the prompter.
Oh my God.
But yes, it's pronounced yogurt tzatziki.
That's it. Dude, actually, I could really like. I want some Suzuki sauce so bad right now.
Yeah, I would love some Kawasaki sauce.
So, I mean, I guess all right. So the first few minutes, we're gonna try to avoid spoilers and just talk in generalities. How did you guys feel about this movie?
No, we're gonna spoil the fuck out of this movie. If you haven't seen it, turn this off now and then watch us on Apple or one of our other places later. YouTube.
I was gonna say, if we're not gonna spoil it, what are we gonna talk about?
No, I meant literally for 5 minutes. We were talking about
we're not gonna spoil it for 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. For the first few minutes. No, it's so this movie, like I said, came out in 2017. It's by the writer director. I'm not gonna try the name again, but he did a few other films. I was in love with his movie The Lobster. I thought The Lobster was fucking great. That was a 2015 dark comedy that he did that also stars Colin Farrell. That movie was a lot funnier, I would say. But along a lot of the similar lines where the dialogue is very strange, and I think that gives a setting to the whole movie that makes it feel a certain way. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen Dogtooth. A lot of people talk about that's like a 2009 movie he did. But I have not seen that, but I want to now. I think he's quickly becoming one of my favorite filmmakers after seeing these two. But what are you guys' overall impressions though? What did you feel about this movie?
It was fucked up.
True. Yes. I definitely agree with that.
So I just want to say the whole reason this got started with me and Mike was like, dude, have you ever seen this movie, Killing of a Sacred Deer? It's the most fucked up thing I've ever seen. I was like, I haven't seen it, but I've seen another movie by that same dude called The Lobster, and I'm pretty sure that's the most fucked up movie I've ever seen. And he goes, well, this movie is way more fucked up than that movie. And I said, I have a hard time believing that. So we decided the only way to find out is we each have to watch the other movie. And I think Mike still feels like that that The Lobster is not as fucked up as Killing the Sacred Deer. But I feel like the concept of The Lobster is just so out there compared to
True.
Killing of a Sacred Deer. Yeah, it's really fucked up and it's violent and it's got some bad themes, but those ideas are not new in filmmaking or storytelling. I don't feel like, some of those ideas, whereas The Lobster, God, who comes up with that?
Yeah, even just the overall premise is very what is this about? Hold on. So if you don't win this little competition thing and end up with a partner, you end up as an animal of your choice for the rest of your that's I mean, I agree with that. I do. So you do still think in terms of, well, most fucked up is such a weird way to categorize something, because like you said, I mean definitely The Killing of a Sacred Deer is darker, right?
Yeah, it was fucked up.
Yeah. Very, yeah. But I think fucked up in an awesome way. Which I guess, at this point, I mean, it's been a couple minutes. We've discussed the overall things. Let's get into spoiler territory. I don't think we need to be careful anymore. So if you haven't seen this movie, go watch it, I would suggest. But at this point, it is over 2 years old. I don't think we're spoiling something for someone who's, you know, dying to see it or anything.
It's fucked up.
Yes. I feel like that's
Spoiler,
all
it's
we're gonna
fucked
get out
up.
of distance for the rest of this episode is it's fucked up. If every time we asked you a question, your answer was just it's fucked up, I'd be happy with that. So yeah, I mean, into like actual like content of the movie. Did you guys like it?
I enjoyed it.
It's
I
fucked
kind
up.
of related it. I was actually thinking of being like, it was fucked up. But no, I thought like, I honestly got thought for a second. I was like, could I do this for the next hour? Could I just keep saying that?
That would be fucked up.
It would be. Well, I think what I was telling you yesterday was like, I don't know if you got a chance to listen to them, but there's a band called Nails that the music is difficult to listen to. It's like really, really, really heavy, like on the side of like hardcore music that's basically noise. And I like Nails, but I have to be in a very specific mood to listen to one of their albums. Like their longest song's 1.5 minutes long.
Okay.
And it's just noise. And
so is it kind of like grindcore or like?
Yeah, it's like think grindcore with like kind of bad recording quality on purpose. I don't know how to describe it. You just have to listen to them. Really, it's kind of like this movie. You just have to see the movie.
Yeah.
And it's like I like Nails, or even like when you heard like the first on the subject of Nails, the first 9 Inch Nails album. Like it's noise, like the industrial stuff. It's like it's a hard listen. Or there's certain like bands where the music is really like technical to the point like where it's almost disorienting. That I liked the movie, but it loses the analogy I'm trying to make because it's almost like the fucked upness is a distraction.
Okay.
Like
distracting from what though?
Well, just some of the weird like dialogue and stuff. It doesn't seem like it really contributes to anything. Because when I watched it the second time, I was already desensitized to any of the stuff in there that was fucked up.
Gotcha.
And so like I watched it the second time and I was like, oh, okay, there's actually some other stuff going on here other than me cringing the entire time.
Oh yeah.
So, but like, I mean, I liked that. I recognize that it takes a lot of talent to make somebody uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And
I think this does very well.
I thought would be.
Oh.
And it's somewhat sadistic, and maybe it's somewhat masochistic to watch it. But like, I had a friend that I recommend this movie to, and he was like angry with me about it.
Really?
Yeah, like
you should read some of those texts.
He ranted, and actually, I'm gonna tell him about this because he's gonna be like, "You did a podcast on that fucking movie?"
I'd love to hear that because I mean, I do think like subjectivity aside, I liked the movie, but as far as like just trying to be objective, I think it is very, very good filmmaking. I think that like very well, it makes you feel uncomfortable. It gives you an uneasy, suspenseful feeling the entire time from the first scene onward. Like, yeah.
Do you remember at the very beginning of the Dark Knight, that like sound they had right before the bank robbery? That little like kind of like that weird tone that was in the background the whole time that makes that tension.
Yeah.
There is a factory over here near my place that has machinery that runs, and that makes that exact frequency sound.
That's interesting.
So when I drive through there, it makes me feel tense. And I think that that's one thing that they did really well was they used the audio. Like, I mean, Craig initially that's one of the things, that's one of the first things he said to us, like when he was watching it, like when he sent us that text and was like, the score is amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of how they were able to create that, like, ugh. And there's even parts where they did bad cinematography on purpose.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's one thing I heard. I'm not going to try to butcher his name again. The filmmaker talk about in an interview was like not many shots are on eye level with an actor. Many of them are like from above or below, and he tried to use the camera very often on dollies or zooming to make it feel like an entity that was following the characters in scenes rather than it just being a static a camera. Like it's supposed to feel more like an entity that you're seeing through the eyes of or whatever, which I thought was really cool. The big dog in chat just said something that I completely agree with, and I was going to bring up later. It felt very like Kubrick to me. Like a lot of the movie felt like a Kubrick movie.
Yeah, I got a lot of that, and I mean some of the video was kind of grainy too.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of gave you like what Clockwork Orange, what was that, like 70, 72 or something like that?
I was gonna say 74, but yeah, something around there, yeah.
Well, it kind of gave you like a lower quality look to like the video and stuff like that. But the thing is that like
1971.
The thing is that like I expected Craig to be more uncomfortable with this, but he like didn't express any of that to us like in the midst of watching the film the other night.
Well, here's the thing. I've seen horror movies before, and it's a horror movie.
That is not a horror movie. That is not what that is.
I would not consider it a horror movie at all.
Something else.
I 100% consider it a horror movie. And here's why. We talked about the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And I've also wanted for a really long time an excuse to utter the phrase, "Can I get a goddamn timpani roll?" But the timpani roll thing they do where they fuck with the way it sounds and that's amazing. It's super horror movie-esque, right?
Yeah.
And you were talking about, making people uncomfortable. The whole thing with the dialogue, how no matter what they're talking about, it could be life or death, could be a terrible disease, could be murder, could be whatever.
Yep.
They're so monotone, so placid, and it's just, it's unnerving. And if that's not horror, I mean, what is? And like you said, it is Kubrickian, if you will.
Yeah. Kubrick-esque.
Well, actually, it's Kubrickian, if you will.
Yeah, I just really wanted to use the word Kubrickian. I'm really glad that you guys have given me the opportunity to use the word Kubrickian. Thank you. I'm going to keep saying it like Mike says it was fucked up.
Kubrickian. Yeah, I definitely agree that there were some of the tropes of a horror movie, but as far as like my mind in the West, when you say like a horror movie, there are certain things that are expected. I do think, the soundtrack could have been the soundtrack of a horror movie. However, it's like there are no jump scares, there are no there's no like actual like horror elements beyond just trying to make you feel uneasy, I would say. Mm-hmm. There's not like, it doesn't deal with like some sort of like evil entity that's like, I guess what are your guys' take on that? Like, was there an antagonist in this film? Like
the scene where the guy bites himself, and the music that plays, if that's not a horror scene, then what the fuck is?
That actually, I was playing a game on my computer while I was kind of rewatching it, mainly because I didn't want to pay too much attention to it last night. And at that scene, I was like, nope.
Yeah, that is
I just pretended like it wasn't even there. I'm like, I'm just gonna pretend like there's no movie on the screen right now because that shit was fucking gross.
Yeah, that scene was very, very off-putting. Yeah,
but that actor acting like he was biting himself was spot on. Like it made it seem like he was doing that to himself, and it was like, oh my god, this is fucking brilliant.
Yes,
makes me wonder if he's one of those weird method actors, and he actually did take.
Who that kid reminds me of?
Who?
I wonder if it's the same guy. Go on.
The kid from Breaking Bad, who ends up, I guess, spoiler alert for Breaking Bad, but the kid that ends up shooting the kid at the job where they're stealing all the methylamine from the train.
I don't remember that. It's been a while since I've seen Breaking Bad. I do not remember that.
He was part of the crew that captured Jesse and were forcing him to make meth.
Okay, I do remember that. I don't remember that character though. It's been years, man.
He became a huge part of the plot in the final season.
I need to rewatch Breaking Bad, honestly.
But he had that kind of like, he had that boyish, he's a kid, but like he's committing atrocities, like and acting like everything's that's just fucking normal.
Yeah. Well, that is like that is one of the things I love the most about this movie, and I think again, like subjectively but also think objectively did a great job of making everything feel like it's not reality. And I heard the director talk in an interview that he wasn't I mean, especially in this movie, but in any movie he's made, he doesn't try to strive for realism. He even made the argument that like he feels that in film realism is not a thing. It should be its own universe. And it's like the the reality that you're seeing in this movie isn't our universe, and it's a reality where people talk like that, and just from every scene watching it that there's something off. It doesn't feel like the normal interactions that you come to learn in your life's experience, basically.
Yeah, like
It's definitely effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like weird things that like they don't have a problem saying to each other. Like there's a scene where they're at, was it I forget his name. Is it the friend that's the anesthesiologist?
Oh, Larry.
I use the term friend loosely.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was Larry.
When they're cooking, like he's grilling the fish at his place, and Steve has no problem being like, take my fish off, would you? I don't like it overdone.
Yeah.
That's like not something that
of like, all the lines in this movie, I like that that's the one you go to that seems weird.
I fucking cook a lot, okay?
No, that's a great line to point to, because that is sort of the gist of the whole thing. Like if I were over at Distance's house, for example, and he was cooking fish and I preferred it not quite as done, I would, even if I wanted to communicate that to him, I would either not, out of being polite, or I would say it in a way that was more polite. And it's just that idea just throughout every situation, and in the situations continue to escalate, and it gets weirder and weirder that they're talking about it the way they are.
Which, yeah, I thought it was like at the I forget the reason for the banquet early in the film, but like there when he like Steven even looks at somebody, he's like, oh, my daughter had her first period recently. It's like that kind of line to me is like really weird. And it's like that is like
so he said she just actually I quoted it. I wrote that down. Our daughter just started menstruating. That's what he says.
That's right. Yeah.
Just kind of like she was a little uncomfortable with it at first, but she seems to, it's like, oh, that's great. Like, what the fuck?
That I was mixing it up with when Kim says that later to Martin. She's like, I had my first period recently. That's right.
And then the kids, like the Bob, like the little brother, is like, do you have hair under your arms?
Yeah.
And he's like, can you show me the hair under your arms? And then later on, he asks Steve, he's like, how much hair do you have under your arms? Your son said it was 3 times as much as I had. He said you had a hairy belly too. He's like, yeah, I do. He's like, can you show me? And like, instead of being like, what the fuck's wrong with you? He's like,
yeah.
Like,
and all of that is, I feel like, somehow important, and for someone way more intelligent than me. But like, what is it that what was the director trying to get across about like coming of age and showing maturity, menstruating, growing hair? Like how I knew that was a point that was trying to be made, but I guess I'm just too fucking dumb to know what it was.
Yeah, there's a lot. There was like a whole list of questions that I had that it's like I know there's some sort of symbolism or allegory there, and I don't get it. There's some stuff that's going right over my head.
Yeah, and I think that it's a common thing, at least when I was younger, that we would like in the locker room, like at gym class, like for whatever reason, like compare body hair.
Right.
Like, hey man, look. Oh damn, look at that. Like, bro, are you wearing deodorant? Nah, man, I'm not. It's like, hey, do you shave? Like,
hey, bro, check like out
these nuts. Hey. So let me give you some of the points that someone who hates this fucking movie said.
Oh, please, yes.
So this was 40 minutes before he finished it, I assume.
Okay.
My friend says, what the fuck am I watching? LOL. Then several minutes later, I think he's finished the film, and he says, WTF, man. That movie was so disturbing and bad, and no point to it. No punctuation there. I think he's just so frantically telling me how much he hated it. He's like, fuck periods. They just talked about them the whole film. He said, I just wasted 2 hours of my life. But then my response was, to be fair, I did tell you that it was fucked up and bizarre.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what I said. But the point that we got to is he said, well, this means that I need to take you seriously when you say something's fucked up and bizarre.
In all reality, I think that it's like, that's like someone that has trouble distinguishing between not liking something and it being bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that is a lot of what he said, but like he also does not agree that it's a scary movie either.
Yeah.
He said, why would someone make such a movie? What's the point besides making you very uncomfortable? I mean, I get scary movies. Some people don't understand the need to be scared, but I get it. However, this movie had no point except making you feel like a piece of shitty human being.
I think there's a lot of a point there. Okay, so let's explore that. Do you guys see a deeper point there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that I mean happen in the film because there's a lot going on. I mean, it's the idea of justice. It's what constitutes justice. It's personal responsibility.
Yes, I think that's
because
a
you know
big
how
one.
the one dude's like, he's like, oh, you know, a surgeon's never responsible for the death of a patient. It's the anesthesiologist. And later on, his friend, the anesthesiologist, is like, the anesthesiologist is never at fault. It's always
Yeah.
the surgeon's fault, never the anesthesiologist. There's that whole coming of age thing too, like that somehow it's a big deal. It's the idea of the fact that we're dishonest with each other, and a lot of the time the people in that movie just say what the fuck they're thinking.
Yeah. The 5
there's
stages
the
of
fact-
grief, I thought, was a pretty strong theme.
Yeah. There's the fact that when the worst thing happens, any unit will fall apart, including something as close as a family.
Mm-hmm.
That eventually everyone will look out for themselves in the worst place, you know. I mean, I recognize that's somewhat cynical, but hey, whatever.
I'm really glad you brought up the personal responsibility, because that was one that really stood out to me, and like, I mean, it's a topic that we've spoke about with each other before, that I was hoping would jump out to you. Do you think that it was done well in this? Like,
I mean,
just
depending on what its goal was, I guess.
well, yeah, just I mean,
What do you guys
showing
think?
like I thought that Steven's character was just meant to be a complete failure of personal responsibility. He, like, I mean, everything from the beginning to the end was him not taking responsibility for his actions at all, constantly
Well, I
lying,
mean-
constantly making excuses, like doing the worst effort to try to quote unquote make up for them. Like,
Yeah, well, I mean, him like hanging out with a kid and buying him shit, which I mean, but by the way, at the beginning of the fucking movie, I was like, is this guy a pedo?
yeah,
Like, that was the first thought that I had.
yep. And I think that they purposely do that.
Yeah.
Right. It's a little misdirection.
Yeah. I love that basically for the first 50 minutes of this movie, I think it is actually on minute 50 is where you figure out what it's about. There's literally 49 minutes leading up to that of like, you're just like, well, what's going on here? And there is a lot there that on the second or third watch, you catch that, like, Steven, oh, he's lying about this. And maybe you didn't catch that the first time, or stuff like that it really speaks to his character and his lack of personal responsibility.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that there's a lot of things you don't get, like even little things, like the watch conversation after the weird open heart surgery scene.
In the very beginning,
They're
yeah.
walking through the hallway and he's like, how many meters? Like, how many meters? And then he buys it for this kid and it's like,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's almost like he somehow thinks that he can bribe this person and he can, like, I don't know, buy himself out of guilt or something.
The whole passing the buck thing is interesting because it starts out with, oh, well, it's never the surgeon's fault, it's the anesthesiologist. Oh, well, it's never this and never that. And then that escalates to, well, you killed my dad, so I'm going to make you kill a member of your family. So the buck gets passed all as far as it can.
And then comes full circle right back to Steven, where it actually, like, in a supernatural way, it makes it, okay, it is now your responsibility to make a decision and stand behind it. Which even at the end, he doesn't even make the decision. He leaves it up to blindfolding himself and spinning around in a circle. Like, he never actually like makes a decision and sticks with it.
The
That
scene,
was
like, where you are you talking about this? Are you going to talk about the school scene?
No.
Okay. Well, go ahead then.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm interested now.
Well, he mentioned the spinning around part. How many times do you think in reality, with three people in a room holding a gun with blindfolded, how many tries? You'd run out of ammo before you hit anything.
Yeah,
Probably,
that was a bolt action hunting rifle. Those things hold like 4 or 5 rounds.
Yeah.
He would have had to reload that thing several times, and it would have been unnerving.
He gets them what, on the third one, the fourth try?
I think it was the
Something like
third
that?
shot, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, just
Which is
mathematically, there's 360 degrees in a circle. I'd say, like, each person is taking up maybe like 20 degrees. So you've got 60 degrees of actual, like, target, and then 300 degrees of just missing. So yeah, I think it would take a lot of, like, a lot of tries.
And he hits some center mass.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Well, it is a movie, and it does take place in an alternate universe where maybe the laws of the chance are
Where
different.
somehow this kid can give you a disease that makes your legs stop working, and eventually your eyes start bleeding and you die.
Well, that brings me to, who do you guys think Martin is? What do you think that, I mean, that it is just a kid, or do you think that that character is meant to be like someone else supernatural? Like, what are your feelings about that character?
You can learn how to do anything on YouTube.
True. Good point. I got the feeling that that the filmmaker was setting him up to be a god type character, and like almost specifically the Old Testament God, having like a very vengeful idea of justice, and just kind of like a whole like eye for an eye type idea. And even like the scene where Anna is like washing his wounds and then washes his feet and kisses them, I think that's like a very like biblical, like almost heavy-handed biblical reference.
Yeah, the kissing of the feet would have been so out of place.
Yeah.
For any other reason other than, that.
Yeah. And that's what I actually
they kind of shoehorned that in there, I feel like.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. Yeah, I feel like it was like heavy-handed, but I appreciate it. I mean, I love I love like religious references and stuff. Like I'm always a sucker for that kind of stuff. So I remember like I showed it to someone, and that their first idea, like before even minute 50, they thought Martin was a demon that was doing this to the family before things were figured out. And it was like, I almost had the complete opposite. It was like, hold on, I think he's actually like more of like what the Christians would call God or an angel rather than like a demon. But
yeah, it's that weird moment where something bad happens to you because of something that you screwed up. Yeah. And your ego does not want to reconcile that in some way you deserve this, because justice is something that we want for everyone else and never ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's something that is actually, that I've heard several people like talk about specifically in the Christian narrative, that, like someone's fucking flying through traffic, darting in between cars. You're like, oh, that fucking asshole needs to learn how to drive. What a dick. He's going to kill somebody. Well, his mother just got in a terrible car accident. He's rushing into the emergency room to see how she's doing. But, but for you, like it's fine because you're just doing what you need to do. Like that's how everybody seems to think.
When they're late for work, they're going to do the same thing.
Yeah. And it's like, and everybody else is like an asshole or a jackass or whatever. But for me, it's like, well, they're just doing them, you know? And there's some situations in which like it's not worth endangering people, like in a motor vehicle or whatever. But there's somewhere, depending upon who you are and what situation you're in, maybe it is. But but did you guys notice how like everyone starts trying to kiss his ass?
Yes.
Like when they know he has to make a decision, like the kid's like, "Oh, I watered the plants," and the daughter's like, "Oh, I love you so much." And at one point, I think Anna, isn't that the wife's name?
Yeah.
She's like, I think the most logical decision is to kill a child. We can have another,
Well, yeah, that whole scene, she like basically tries to bribe him with sex, and then he kind of just like turns the light off, and then she like says that, and then even the scene at the end when he tells her to come to the living room, she's like, "I'm gonna put on that black dress you like." It's like up till the end, they're all just trying to appease him to be like, "No, I'm not the one you should choose."
Oh, guys, can I ask you one question?
Yeah.
General anesthetic?
So fucking weird.
Was that not the weird? And he's like, general anesthetic. And she's like, "Blah." It's like, how's this? That's perfect.
And then I love that Kim did that later in the movie daughter, when she was trying to hook up with Martin.
Yeah, I was like, that was I noticed that the second time around. I was like, this is fucking weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then like she actually tries to bribe him by like running away with him, like not the dad, but Martin.
Yeah.
Like, let's run away together. You have to, and it's like, well, what do you?
Do you think he told the daughter his plan before he executed his plan?
Definitely. Yeah. And I noticed on the second viewing, there was a scene that confirmed that for me. When Kim comes home late after hanging out with Martin, she at this point the only thing that had happened is Bob started to get sick. It was the night that his leg stopped working. She comes home and she asks like, "Oh, how's Bob doing?" And Anna's like, "Oh, Bob's fine." She's like, "Well, how are you feeling? Are you okay?" And it's like the only reason she would ask that is because she knew something was going to happen.
Yeah, that did kind of raise an eyebrow for me. And it even gets to the point where like she's taunting her mother. Yeah. Like when she slaps her for it, I think, where she's like, dude, does your back hurt? Do your legs hurt? Is it happening yet?
Yeah, it was in the hospital.
There's a part where the siblings are taunting each other about being dead. Like, oh, they bought me a piano. They didn't want to tell you because they didn't want to scare you. She's like, well, can I have your MP3 player after you're dead?
Yeah.
It's
just more examples of that dialogue with no, consideration for the subject in the tone.
Yeah, just a dialogue that you would not find in our reality, which I love that. It's just like, it had to have been so hard to write that kind of dialogue, to step away from like, okay, what do we find normal? It's like, what should these characters say that is just so fucking strange that it'll make people say like, what the fuck
like
are they doing?
when he's trying to get Bob to admit that he's just playing and he's not really paralyzed.
Oh, God.
He's like, let's play a game. We'll tell each other a secret. I'm like, bro, did you have to go all the way with your actual worst secret? Fuck.
That may not have even been his worst secret. What if that was just like level 1 to him? Like, there's a lot of darker layers of Steven. Like,
yeah.
Say.
But that the part where he goes to the school, because Big Dog just mentioned this in chat, like where he goes to the school and like asks about their performance and who's nicer to the teachers, and if you had to pick which kid was better, what would you say?
Yeah,
like,
that was a funny. Well,
like, I mean, I don't mean if you had to kill one of them. I mean, which one do you think is better?
Yeah,
right. From the audience perspective, that's a much more interesting question than from the principal's or whoever he was perspective. He was like, well, that's a weird question. You know?
But it is like, I think it speaks to just Steven's lack of character in so many ways, that it's like he doesn't even know his children well enough. He has to go to their principal to be like, what's your input on this? Rather than like, like not being like an involved parent that should be able to have that answer themselves. It's like, well, no, which one of my kids is the better one? Like,
who knows their kids well enough to know which one they'd kill if they had to?
I do.
So this is another thing that my buddy mentioned. He has 2 kids, I think. And he was like, the regular breeder thing. He was like, well, it would be different if you had kids. And like, to some degree, I kind of like understand why that disturbed him even more, because it struck a real chord with him. Like, what the fuck would I do? Because like, everybody's done something stupid or wrong or done something that's hurt somebody else.
Yeah.
And,
maybe not to the extent of like drinking before surgery and killing someone, but
degrees are different.
Kids, and someone was murdering them slowly, you'd call the cops is what you would do.
But they addressed that in this.
Kill the guy.
Well, but they addressed both of those options in this movie. Like, I mean, there was the scene where it's like, like, okay, what would you tell the cops? This teenager has supernatural powers.
Whole story.
I mean, and maybe in that reality that would work. But I mean, at least in the reality we know, if you were to call the cops,
calm as fuck.
But and then you end up in a mental asylum. Like, you're telling them literally that this supernatural teenager is slowly killing your family with a magical disease.
The thing that
they.
Exactly.
I can't even do it.
Exactly. And then, or like the way, I mean, he did obviously consider killing Martin. He kidnapped him, he had him tied up, and he was holding him, he even held the rifle to his head and told him, like, you're going to know what it's like to die. You're going to know what it's like when your head cracks open and your brains come out, blah, blah. Like, but then, like Anna pointed out, like, or no, I think it was even Martin that said that. It's like, well, you do that and you make sure you dig a hole big enough for 4, because you're going to be killing all 4. Like, it seemed like the deal worked out in a way that, like, Martin had to still be alive when he made that choice. That it's like he couldn't just kill Martin and end it. It's like the everything had been set into motion already, and killing Martin wasn't going to change that.
Before he points the rifle at him, he calls him a murderer, and Martin calls it like an antiquated and simple term or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I'm like, did you guys find the spaghetti scene weird?
That was one of the questions that I had. I don't understand the point of that.
It was just people trying to. At least for me,
he was illustrating his so what did he say? He said that he ate spaghetti the same way as his dad.
Yeah.
And then he realized afterwards that doesn't mean anything, because everybody eats spaghetti that way.
Yeah.
It was almost as if you were about to get this really touching this is why I miss my dad so much moment. But I guess the sort of person that would kill a whole family for revenge probably isn't this sort of guy that really has a lot of sentiment about the way he eats fucking spaghetti like his dad.
True.
Well, so that brings up the point of, well, Frank Castle. It's not revenge, it's punishment.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, that's the thing. Like, what is revenge versus justice? I mean, recognizing that it's like that because doesn't at one point Martin say it's the only thing he could think of that was just, as if he had something to do with it somehow?
Yes.
I might be mistaken.
Well, yeah, and I think that he even said that during the scene where he bit his arm to pay back that he just bit Stevens. Like that is his idea of justice. Is that, I mean, it is the eye for an eye thing.
Yeah, but is it justice or is it revenge or is it
But also
somehow both?
Yeah.
Can we talk about? I don't remember if I remember the scene where she asks him, "Had you been drinking during the surgery?" And he says he had 2 drinks or something like that,
Yeah.
which is like the classic. I've only had 2 drinks. Like that's what everybody says.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right before the officer takes you to jail because you're above the legal limit.
Yep.
But is there any other evidence throughout the movie that he was definitely 100% like too like drunk enough for it to have affected his performance as a surgeon?
I'm fucking glad you're not a surgeon.
Well, I mean, I would say
But let's
the fact that he
Yeah.
lied about it to his wife. Like, I mean, he was obviously ashamed enough about what happened to not be honest about the events. I would say that
Yeah.
like in himself, he knew that he did something wrong, and because of his weak character, he was not able to own up to that.
But we're talking about somebody who used to be like apparently a very bad alcoholic, right?
Which even lied about that.
If I had a surgeon and they were performing very important surgery on me and they were also an alcoholic, I would much rather them have a couple drinks to get those fucking hands steady. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
let's be real. It's like that movie Flight. You know, you guys seen that?
Never saw it.
Ty?
For our next movie discussion,
Oh.
Flight.
Yes, with Denzel, right?
Yeah. Well, basically, and this isn't spoiling anything, Mike. Yeah. Fucking. I love you. So basically, there's a plane crash, but the plane was saved because the pilot performs this unbelievable maneuver.
Yep.
And avoids, certain death. And at some point in the movie they show, that all these pilots went through this simulation from the same scenario that they had built and nobody survived it, but he did, because he was hungover that morning, so he grabbed a little nipper before he started flying the plane and managed like the most unbelievable aviation maneuver ever. Not that that's a real thing, but the concept is at least interesting.
Yeah, it does kind of raise that. It does kind of. I mean, it's a movie that makes you think and makes people talk. Like, that's the point of films like that, I think, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it does kind of make you wonder, like, because it's like, well, like when the football coach, the offensive coordinator, makes that crazy risky call at the end of the game. Like they're at like the 70-yard line. He decides to call like a 5 empty wide, where like your whole backfield's empty, all your receivers just run their asses off, and you just chuck that bitch like Hail Mary. And then like if he makes it, he's a brilliant coach and made a great call. But if he screws it up, like SportsCenter the next day, everybody smears the guy.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's kind of the same thing. It's like if you did something that wasn't quite a good idea, but you somehow like pulled it out and I don't know, like it's.
Well, in my mind, like to go back to Craig's question, in my mind, the universe this takes place in, Martin's character is some sort of godlike figure that knows the truth and knows what his idea of justice is. Depending on how you see Martin's character, it's like, I think that to me answers like, was Steven at fault or not? Was the fact that like this character is like, oh yes, you were at fault, and here's the justice that you're gonna have to face.
Well,
I think it's interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, dude. Go ahead.
It's interesting that you, Ty, go straight to, well, he's got these powers and that's how he's making this
I
happen.
think that's because he ruined the movie by listening to what the creators had to say about it for himself.
Well, in all fairness,
you son of a bitch.
no, in all fairness, I've never heard the director say anything about that. I did hear Colin Farrell say when he first read the script, his first impression was that like the gods were at work, as in like he meant like the ancient Greek gods on Mount Olympus, and like watching and interplaying in our lives. But I got that feeling just from the biblical allegory, like especially the feet washing and kissing scene, the stuff like that. And it just like, it feels, I mean, I know I have this kind of mindset where I see religion in a lot of things because of just the things that I like. So that may be part of where my mind goes. But I did see a lot of the like Old Testament God, like the Yahweh, like the vengeful war God in Martin.
Yeah, because if it was the New Testament one, he would have been like, hey, you sit down, let me wash your feet, lady.
Well, and even the other thing that jumped out to me too, I don't know if you guys noticed this, his favorite movie and the scene that was the only scene from Groundhog Day they show was literally the scene where Bill Murray is telling the woman that he's a god. He's at the table and he's like, and she's like, I don't think you're a god. Like, and see, that to me even spoke to that same fact that it was like, hold on, is this what they're actually getting at or not? But it may just be me, but.
Because I guess
we should have watched the movie twice, I think.
I guess I watched it 1.5 times because it was more like in the background while I was playing a game. So I mean, yeah, but that's the thing. Like it, I didn't really notice that. I remember they were watching Groundhog Day.
I feel dumb for not noticing that actually.
Well, me too. I remember that they watched Groundhog Day because I mean, Bill Murray. Right. Come on.
But it's also, but all of that's all before minute 50. So it's like on your first watch, you're not prepared to try to pick up any of those things.
True.
Like you don't even know what the movie's about at that point. You're just like, hold on, why is this doctor over at this dude's house hanging out with his mom? Like,
what do we think about his mom trying to get with the doctor though?
I don't know.
Because Old Testament God was never like, hey, my mom's trying to get with you.
I feel like I had a theory while I was watching it, but now
yeah, I don't know. I mean, as far as in our reality,
he just wanted a replacement for his dad. I don't know.
And that's obviously
that
like
was a sacred deer, though.
Yes.
No, you know what it was? I remember now. It was leverage. He wanted to turn his wife against him.
Because he did actually be like, oh, maybe you should hear this from him.
He could have been like, by the way, your piece of shit husband fucked my mom. How's that make you feel?
Which he even does. He does bring up later. I mean, it's not that they actually had sex, but
it's clearly that he was upset that didn't happen.
Yeah,
because he wanted to be able to drive that nail in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I got that driving the nail in.
Yeah. But no, at no point while watching the movie did I think, well, this guy has magic powers. He's a god. He's whatever. I was searching the whole time for like, all right, how's he poisoning everybody? Where's he doing this?
Okay.
And I guess apparently that was so far off base. Now I just feel like a fucking idiot.
I mean, maybe not, because the whole idea for me is that the fun of the film is that you don't know. I like that because you don't really have any idea. And to me, it's just because there's so many things that like we want to like, because the world in which we inhabit, if you look closely enough and know enough, things will make sense.
Yes.
If you know what to look for. But that's the cool thing about movies is that they don't have to. Like, trying to make sense of any fucking time travel movie ever.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's circular. It's paradoxical. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. It's always either Back to the Future rules or Terminator rules, and they both don't make sense whenever you really break them down. But
yeah, it's like
Terminator rules make perfect sense. I have 100% faith in Terminator rules.
You would. I forget which one Endgame was.
Children of the 90s. I don't even know if I saw that.
So speaking of rules. Like, how come you guys are both playing with pens? Do I need a pen to play?
Oh, Ty does that, and like this is a highlighter. So like it's like I thought it would be funny to pull out a highlighter instead of an actual pen. Because it's just a thing that he does, and like whenever I see him doing it, I'll get mine out and just like.
Oh, the big dog brought up a good point. Literally, there could be remember the whole lemonade discussion, and he brings his mother's lemonade and everything.
One of the things I thought it was, but I was like, but wait a minute, he was drinking lemonade too.
It's too practical for me. I don't know. I wonder though. See, that is not even something I ever thought of at all. Like it just being a literal practical. Yeah.
Did you guys see that scene? And I'm talking about, I'm going somewhere with this, I promise.
Okay.
The scene in the first Wayne's World where they're outside of Alice Cooper's show and Chris Farley is like a security guard. And he's like talking, he tells him, so what he's going to do is he's going to drive here and back to here and back there for a show here and then do a record deal here. And as they walk off, Wayne goes, he was full of a lot of information that didn't seem meaningful at the time.
Yeah.
Then like later on, they beam some weird satellite signal to Frankie Sharp's limousine because they knew where he was going to be exactly.
Yep.
Right.
So like in movies, usually when you hear something, it means something. Or this might just be something where the creators knew that people like us were going to like have a chat about this and it would just be some fun. Okay, I'm putting this highlighter away. I feel ridiculous. That
I wish I had like a dildo laying around that I could just.
I'm surprised you don't.
I don't.
That would be awesome.
Would we like? Is that allowed? Like, would we be breaching any terms of service here?
Ooh, actually,
piece of plastic, man.
Yeah, there you go.
I really don't know. Yeah.
Glass.
You
or
know
whatever
what?
You're into.
You know what actor that kid reminded me of though?
Who?
Joel. I think it's pronounced Edgerton.
I don't know who that is.
Look him up. The kid looks like a young version of Joel Edgerton. It's weird.
Dude, by the way, the kid, what is his name? Barry Keoghan or whatever. He fucking killed it though. I thought he was great in this movie.
Oh yeah, he did great. I mean, I thought so.
Who's the spell that last name? Joel what? Edgerton.
Yeah,
I see that.
He was in the movie. Like he's been in a lot of films. I think he's Australian.
Yeah, he's Australian. Yeah. Okay. Oh, he was in Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, Episode 3.
Oh yeah. He plays the dad, I think, or maybe I think he plays yeah.
Oh wow, he was also in like The Great Gatsby and Red Sparrow and damn, he was in a bunch of movies.
No, I think he plays Anakin's uncle.
He was young Owen Lars. I don't know my Star Wars, man.
Yeah, but the kid in the film, like he really reminded me of him. I don't know why. There's something about like his face and like his eyes. Like he had like droopy eyelids, kind of.
I can see that.
And
yeah.
Joel Edgerton kind of has those too, and like his nose shape and everything. It was very odd to me, like how much he reminded me of that particular actor. And I could not remember his name. I had to look him up. But yeah, it's like I just the thing for me is that at the spaghetti scene, I was thinking of it more as like people coming up with some like stupid way to like make somebody feel better about someone being dead.
Yes.
Like, oh, you eat your spaghetti just like your daddy did.
Yep.
You know, it's like, but if someone's dad's an asshole, you don't say like, you know, you're just as much of an asshole as your dad was. May his legacy live on.
I've fucked up at a lot of funerals then. Holy shit. I need to.
You're a mean drunk just like your daddy.
Yeah. But no, I love like what he even said in that scene was like once he realized that hurt even more than when he found out his dad was dead. It was like the lying that people did to him actually hurt more than the incident itself. Yeah.
Which is weird because it seems to be a world where people wouldn't do that.
I guess, yeah. But it
in a world where everyone speaks monotone. But Colin Farrell, I think I saw the same interview you were talking about where you were talking about the gods.
Yeah.
I think, and maybe it was that one. It might have been a different one. Colin Farrell mentioned that no one was coached or told to do the monotone thing.
Exactly. Yeah. It just kind of came from reading the words off the page. And it's like, hold on, this is the delivery that makes sense for these long, wordy sentences that seem like dreary is not the right word.
It's kind of like Letterkenny, but not funny.
I need to watch that show.
They do that too. Like Craig introduced me to it. It's brilliant. Like they just sit there like on the porch and like talk like very like it's hilarious shit with completely straight faces, relatively monotone, and they never really look at each other. It's strange. But yeah, it's kind of like that. But I also wondered if because I don't know if in The Lobster they were told to speak that way also. And I'm wondering if Colin Farrell just did that from being in that film, and then everyone else just followed his lead.
Possibly, yeah.
Because he doesn't mention anything. Because in that interview that I was watching, he was talking about the killing of a sacred deer, not the lobster. No one asked him about it.
He got cast in 2 different movies from the same guy because in a very similarly styled film, I felt like.
Did you guys notice how bad the lighting was in the basement? Where he kidnaps the guy, the kid, and like starts, points the rifle at him and stuff.
I sure didn't.
Like it's the
I
ugliest.
didn't either.
Everything, the lighting and the scenes with every other room in their house looks really, really good. Even in the scenes where they're walking around trying to find their daughter when she runs amok and
Yeah.
turning the lights on and off. But for some reason, that room where Steve ties Martin up, Stephen Martin, where Steve, coincidence? I think not. Steve Martin. Where he ties Martin up, like that room, the lighting is awful.
I did not notice that, but now that you're saying it does.
Really, really bad. That light blows out the whole top of the frame.
Yeah, and it's like
ridiculous.
super cool blue light too.
Yeah.
It's like
Everything in there is awful. And like I actually wonder if they slacked off on the stage makeup too.
I don't know. I feel like I get such a Kubrick feeling from this guy that, like, you know how much of control freak Kubrick was with his set, right? Where nothing was like every little detail was there on purpose. Like he was very, very meticulous with every little bit. Like I get the same feeling from this director that, like, I feel like I would be more inclined to believe that was some sort of intentional thing that meant something rather than it just being an oversight.
Yeah. I mean, with a name like Benedict Cumberbatch.
Who's that?
Sorry, I'm just kidding. It's the other actor, the other movie business name that everyone screws up.
Never heard of her.
Sure.
Oh, Benevolent Cucumber Patch?
Yeah.
That's right.
I don't know where is he from? That's Greek, right? Isn't his name Greek?
The filmmaker for Killing?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's Greek, yeah. Which we haven't touched on. The story that the name is from is an old Greek story too. I don't know how much you guys know about the.
Is it?
Yes. The
Zorba?
Say what?
The Greek?
What?
Zorba the Greek?
No, not that
Is that
Greek.
A Star Wars reference. Are you talking about 300? I love that movie.
No, the All right. What is I'm gonna butcher this story if I try to tell it, but it has to do with Agamemnon.
Oh,
there's an ancient Greek story where oh man,
doesn't someone like
Brad
kill a
Pitt was
deer in
so
the woods or
dreamy
some
in
shit?
Troy.
Okay, so oh my god, Iphigenia, Iphigenia, Iphigenia in Greek mythology. In Greek mythology, Iphigenia was a daughter of King Agamemnon and Queen Clytemnestra. Jesus, Greek names are so fucking hard. But basically, in the story, Agamemnon offends the goddess Artemis on his way to the Trojan War by accidentally killing one of her sacred deer. She retaliates by preventing the Greek troops from reaching Troy unless Agamemnon kills Iphigenia so basically, like, he has to commit a human sacrifice to make up for his accidental killing of a sacred deer. Which is the story that this is kind of like based off of, and the references, of course.
The daughter, is it Kim? That's her name, right?
Kim, yeah.
She uses a religious term, atonement.
Yeah.
She says, "Allow me to atone."
Yep.
And I think she even uses the word sin.
I don't specifically remember that, but
I know she uses the word atone. I don't know if she uses the other one.
I'm going to pretend like I remember that because it reinforces my interpretation of this. So yes, you are correct.
If you need someone on your jury, well.
Yeah, basically
is just don't drink and surgeon.
Yes,
exactly.
Which, I mean, yeah, honestly, I mean, so it is like at the core, this is like Stephen fucked up and refuses to admit or make amends for his action. Tries to do it in the half-ass way that even like Martin references later during the weird scene where he bites his arm. Like he talks about, like, after he bites Stephen's arm, he's like, I forget how he words it. It's like, should I rub your wound to make it better? No, and that's what Stephen was doing. Like he caused a wound in this family, and his idea of atonement was like, oh, I can hang out with Martin and be this half-ass father figure. And like that to me is rubbing the wound. You know, it does absolutely nothing for the person that's injured, but it tries to make him feel a little better by like, oh, I'm making up for it, right?
Do you think if he hadn't have done that, he still would have fucked with him?
Ooh, I don't know.
I mean, I can't think of any other reason why.
What if he never reached out never. Well, he was like, "I'm very sorry," at the I'm very sorry this happened, but these things happen, and I'm so sorry for your loss, and then just bounced. Never spoke to the guy again. Would he still have been upset about it, or was he particularly pissed because, oh, now he wants to be my fucking pal? Okay, I'll kill his family.
I think, in my interpretation, yes, it still would have happened, because in my eyes, the problem was that there needed to be a balance or justice in whatever Martin's eyes of justice were, and it wasn't necessarily vengeance for him, like rubbing the wound. It was more for causing the wound to begin with, and that's where it's like, okay, it is eye for an eye. You killed someone from my family, you're gonna have to kill someone from yours.
Ty, did you see what Big Dog was talking about in chat?
Let me read that. When Steven is at the school, the principal says that the daughter wrote an essay on, and I believe it's what yours.
On the actual Agamemnon, like whatever that's called, what was it called again?
I did not notice that.
If in the chlamydia, Iphigenia.
Yes.
Dude, I need to. I'm so tired of watching this movie. But I thought I was going to be going through something awful, like even just like letting it play in the background the second time, but it really isn't so bad the second time. Not nearly as cringy, but that would be interesting.
Yeah, I do not remember that. That's interesting. I feel like that should have jumped out to me. I fucking need to watch it a fourth time now. But no, it is like, I mean, it is a difficult movie to watch, and I feel like it's by design, which is, obviously, as far as like, if you care about replay value for your media, that's probably not the best business decision. But I do think it is a, like, I mean, like, I heard a few different reviews and people say, like, I mean, calling it a masterpiece, calling it like great filmmaking, which I agree with. I think that they're really great choices that are done, and it can make a movie that is not necessarily easy to watch. And like we texted about it the other night, I liken it to one of my favorite, how did I word it? It's like one of my favorite movies that I never want to see again is Requiem for a Dream. I think that is a great fucking movie, but it's a movie that I fucking hate watching because it puts me in a really dark, sad mental state. But I don't think that means it's a bad movie. Like,
this is sort of off. This is definitely off topic. But did I tell you about when I worked at Blockbuster, and those, like, I think they were like 17 or 18-year-old girls came in asking for a scary movie.
Oh God.
Oh no.
And I knew they were talking about what I called teeny bopper horror, like
jump scares,
Urban Legends, or Scream, or like the
Jeepers Creepers,
Touristas, like stuff like that. Yeah, movies like that. And they came and they're like, so we're looking for something really scary. And I was like, yeah. They're like super scary. I'm like really, really scary, like something that like it's gonna just mess up your life after you watch it. Like, are there movies that are that scary? I'm like, yeah. I was like, let me show you this. So why are we in the drama section? You'll understand, I promise.
Trust me.
So I handed it to them, and they're like, Requiem for a Dream? I was like, that will mess your life up. Like, that movie is so terrifying that you will wonder if you can go on living after watching it. And they're like, it sounds super scary.
I do wish that I wouldn't have seen it at the age that I saw it.
I was like, because let me think, I was 18 and I'd just seen the movie maybe 6 months before that. And when I came to work the next time, it was on the weekend. The next weekend, my boss was like, we need to talk.
Yeah.
I was like, what? He was like, did you recommend Requiem for a Dream to 2 teenage girls that were asking for a scary movie? I'm like, yeah, they said scary. And he was like, well, the one girl's dad came in here.
Oh God.
And complained.
You realize she killed herself, right?
But he actually made it clear. He's like, I think it's hilarious, okay? I think it's really funny, but dude, you can't do shit like that. Like this kid, but I'm pretty sure she was 18.
Yeah.
So it's not like I had broken any rules.
Yeah.
So
it was just like what she meant, and you kind of you were like,
yeah. She said scary. That movie scared the shit out of me.
Well, that
you and I both know why you did not get fired.
Yeah, I think we all three know.
We know. But you guys remember that story? You've rented movies there.
But that goes.
Did I ever tell you the comment I put on your parents' account?
No.
Your mom was in there one time and she was pissed off because they had to pay a late fee because you didn't bring a movie back on time.
Okay.
And she asked me to put a note in there to like only let her and your dad rent off the account. And I wrote in there as a check ID, Ty is a loser.
Oh man, that's horrible.
Fun fact, I also interviewed for a job at that same Blockbuster with that same guy.
Mhm.
And I thought I nailed it, but I didn't get called back. So what I'm assuming is that I'm just not that cute.
You're not cute enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need yourself some big brown eyes.
I think you're just you're a different kind of cute. All right. You are that cute. You're a different kind of cute. He doesn't like the Jesus cute. He liked the little boy cute.
Well, at the
Anglo
time
Jesus.
I looked a lot different at that point.
True, I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
17, 18.
Ooh, that was prime.
So sorry
Craig.
to have derailed the conversation, but
No,
I just
you're
thought that was funny.
Well, no, that actually like brings us like completely back full circle to the very beginning where Craig was calling this a horror movie, which is like it is like a subjective thing where I mean like that type of movie I would liken this to Requiem, where it is like I would not call either a horror movie, but I would say both are the type of psychological thriller that I like. That it's like, to me, horror is more like cheesy jump scares and like overuse of gore for the sake of like, but rather than like a movie that is going to put you in a mindset that is like, oh shit, I feel uncomfortable, I don't like this.
Do you guys know how to get rid of ghosts?
Are you gonna tap on your fucking piano like in Ghostbusters? You are, aren't you?
Not now.
Bill Murray.
Not-
you know how you know someone way too well?
Yeah. Yep.
I hate that.
Sorry. This is why we never play poker.
Oh, yeah, it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
So if oh, go ahead. Sorry.
He knows if I go all in when we're playing poker, I have 666.
100%.
That's a good hand, dude. That's a good hand. So if you guys were to do the traditional like rating this out of 5, where does this movie land for you?
3.5.
Okay. What about for you, Disty?
Did you say 1 to 10?
No, I said out of 5.
Out of 5?
Yeah, 5 stars.
I was like,
yeah, the 5-star
fuck,
rating.
That's
no.
not nice. Okay, 5 stars. I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna go with 3.5. Maybe 4.
Yeah, see, I think I landed around
3
a 4.
3.75. There
Okay,
we go.
that's good. Well,
We'll split the difference.
because I was gonna say 4, so it averages at a 3.75, which I think, yeah, I mean, on it, like as far as just objective filmmaking goes, I think it was very, very solid. I think it was a 4. Like I subjectively like it. Like I would rate it higher for me, but as far as like just trying to be objective as possible, like yeah, I think it's a solid 4. I think it was a very, very good film.
I'm not gonna say it's like the best movie I've ever seen, and honestly, like I don't even know what that would be if I had to pick.
Yeah.
But it's, for me, it's like the one thing that actually annoys me is, do you guys remember the band They Used?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like they were all like, emo, nah, we're just rock, we're not really in a genre. Fuck you, you're emo, shut up. Like you're in a genre,
Oh,
just
honey.
shut your silly little pretentious mouth. Like, and that's one thing that I saw, like the director was like, and I find this to be really pretentious when they're like, oh, well, we wanted to make a movie that defies genres.
Mhm.
It's like, it's a psychological thriller. Shut your fucking mouth. That Tool, I don't like Tool because their singer's pretentious as hell. Like the creators of a thing can ruin things for me.
Mhm.
And when I saw like that he was trying to like, oh, it defies genres, you see, I was like, nah, I'm labeling you. Fuck off. What's like one of the guys from Lamb of God was like bitching about like, why are there so many subgenres? It's heavy fucking metal. I'm like, nah, dude.
You know what's funny about Distance not liking Tool?
What's that?
He was a huge Tool fan when we were kids.
Yeah.
And then he went to a show, and Maynard had his back turned the whole time, and he got back from the show and he goes, I fucking hate Tool.
Yeah. Yeah. He's told me that same story.
I'm pretty sure I gave you my Tool shirt and I got rid
did.
of all their albums, and I was like, that's it.
Nice.
Like, not anymore. But I think A Perfect Circle, Murder Gnomes is one of my favorite albums ever.
Yeah, it's great. Do you listen to any Pussifer or Pussifer or however you're supposed to pronounce it?
Well, mainly because I feel like uneasy whenever anyone says their name. Like, like, oh.
So
I like any name where when you hear 10 people say the name, you get 10 different, words.
Yeah. Like, have you heard
Yes.
Pooh Cipher? It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
All right.
Like, is that a
Pretty sure it's
puzzle with
Pooh Cipher. Yeah.
I actually haven't really
Pooh
heard. I haven't really
Cipher?
heard much of their music because. What the fuck did you just say?
Pooh Cipher. I like that a lot.
Oh, I just.
So my next musical project is just going to be a jumble of letters.
Skiffer.
Yeah, it's Pussy. So by the way, the big dog did go back and check that scene, and the principal does say that she wrote a brilliant essay on the tragedy of Iphigenia. So it was actually referencing that. That's fucking cool. Did not even pick that up.
Actually.
Yep.
Fuck
yeah. I mean, but
See
it's just
what happens when you pay attention to a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but like I did seem I sort of felt the awkwardness was a gimmick in the film. Like I don't really know that it really added much to it. It was just like a weird like kind of fun thing you can do. Because like for me, like I was actually thinking I was watching the movie Velvet Buzzsaw, and if you haven't seen it, I recommend it. It's fucking great. I mean Jake Gyllenhaal's in it. Come on. Tool's newest album sounds like all their other albums. Big dog. Sorry. Someone was like, "You got to listen to it. It's great." I'm like, "Oh, cool. Lateralis again." Sorry.
I don't know if I've heard much.
If you managed to make Lateralis twice, you've really done something.
Yeah.
Lateralis is a great fucking record.
I personally liked Anima more, or however you pronounce that.
That was a fun album. It was much more raw. I mean, I like
that album a lot.
But I mean, the idea between, I dig all of it, man. I'm not like the biggest Tool fan in the world, but if somebody rocks some Tool in the car, I'm never like, ugh, turn this off.
Yeah, I do think they're good musicians. Yeah.
It depends on. There's a couple songs I still actually do like, but it's like, yeah. But sorry,
I do think it's interesting you say that though. No, I do think it's interesting you say that because I felt like the weirdness added a lot to it. I felt like it kept every scene making you feel kind of uneasy. It was just like constantly like a certain like a feeling that you got. There was like there's something wrong here. That if the dialogue wasn't like that, it would be way too easy to settle into like, oh, this is just business as normal. These are two people talking, rather than it being like, why are they talking like this? What are they doing? Like,
the dialogue makes the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that is what makes all these crazy concepts work.
Yeah, I mean the tension was like it was a part of it, but for me it's like it seems somewhat hypocritical of me because when I was watching Velvet Buzzsaw and I saw the paintings that the guy was doing, I thought if I were a painter or an illustrator, all of my art would be macabre, and I know it would be. So I feel hypocritical for saying that I felt like it was gimmicky because if I did visual art, I know that it would be something like that. And it was even like I used to like goof around with like a couple different like programs like when we were in school where it was I would do like some weird like electronic music stuff.
Oh, okay.
And all the stuff that I did was like weird and hard to listen to.
Yeah.
So I can't really talk any trash about someone that like makes a movie like that.
Yep.
Because like the art that I have done or I would do, I feel like would be similar.
Yeah.
But it's just I think that there are moments where it does make you question why are some things taboo?
Yeah.
Because there's some stuff in the movie they talk about that shouldn't really be that weird.
No, it should. Like, I mean, for instance, like we talked about earlier, the fish on the grill scene. That should not be a weird thing, but it's like in our universe of like having to have this faux politeness all the time. It's like, oh, that's crossing a line to just say straight across to someone like, oh, hey, by the way, please take that off now. I don't want it overdone.
Yeah, or it's like even like when you oh sorry, go ahead, Craig.
Yeah.
Do you think that, and this is in no way to be disparaging towards our friends to the north, but do you think do you think a Yankee would be as pissed off about that as we were?
I don't think so. No, my mind actually went there. Yeah.
Well, there's an idea about like possession and like property and boundaries and territory that if you're in someone else's home, I think there's a universal kind of like I would say North American thing, not just like United States. Like I think there's a North American thing about being like respectful. Like for instance, like um uh,
but it, like it calls into question where the like balance of respect is, because like I don't think that that's actually disrespectful. It's just like here in the South we expect this level of respect that I would almost say is above and beyond. There's this weird like, Southern like
like so for fish it's different. Like if somebody were to bring you over to their home and cook you a steak, they'd ask you how you wanted it cooked, regardless of where you're at. But if you were at somebody's house and they were cooking fish and you said in that way, like, would you go ahead and take it? And he wasn't, his tone wasn't rude, but the way he said it like made me go fuck. But I'm wondering, you know, if you know somebody in Buffalo would even bat an eye. Yeah, man, here you go. Like, that's just how they I gotta tell you a story real quick about something I overheard in a bar in Buffalo.
Okay.
And this is why I think this.
Okay.
There's these three dudes sitting at a bar, and the one dude's sitting in a bar stool and he's not saying anything, he's not looking at anything, he's not looking at his phone, he's not talking to his buddies who are behind him standing up, and he's just drinking his drink. He looks a little bummed out. And his buddies behind him are yapping it up, you know, talking about what bars they're going to hit that night, and we're going to go out and party, woo, you know, blah, blah, blah. And finally, one of the guys standing up notices that the guy sitting at the bar hasn't said anything, and he's looking kind of glum, and he goes, "Hey, what's fucking mad with you? You fucking girlfriend break up with you? I'll fucking kill yourself. Let's go to the next bar." It's just a different kind of communication, man.
Are you sure you weren't in Boston? Because that sounded like Boston.
Well, I'm, you know,
I'm just messing with you.
I've noticed that same thing in my travels, though. It's like there is what I would say is not at all disrespectful, just a normal like. I was at a gas station in the tournament was like somewhere in Jersey, so it was like somewhere close to Jersey, and it was like just the interaction with the cashier was like, "Is that everything? Yeah, here's your change." Here we would find that rude, but all that is the baseline communication. There is no sense to have like there's no need to have like "How are you today?" and other pleasantries like that we come to expect in this area. I think it's like a cultural thing to the South that it's like the baseline niceness, I guess, is like way above neutral. It's like if it isn't like overly nice, we think of it as rude, which is kind of strange to me.
I mean, my brother-in-law, his dad is from Mississippi and like born and raised there, like loves NASCAR, owns muscle cars, has a safe full of like 18 guns, like, you know, barbecue yeehaw Leonard Skinner dude. Has been smoked Marlboro Red since he was like 13. And he is almost at the point where it's ridiculous. Like he will go to my dad's house and they will make Indian food. And my stepmom makes stuff kind of like, you know, like very burly, spicy. And he would like sit and like suffer through food that was causing him pain out of like some kind of idea of manners. And it drives my brother-in-law crazy that his dad does that.
Yeah.
I would do the same thing though.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, because if
it were a close friend or a family, especially, actually, it would almost be like the less that I knew someone, if I were in their home eating their food, and if it was too spicy for me, I'd have to power through it because I would be more comfortable saying like, "Oh, distance, this is too spicy," than like somebody that I didn't know that much, like, "Oh, this is delicious." Fuck, sweat.
Well, you know I feel like you've had spicy food enough times where you would be able to know to be like, "Hey, can you please pass the rice? Could I have some more yogurt?"
Well, like, not even spicy. What if it's just bad? If literally like you don't like it. Like out of just normal, like what we consider like courtesy, you eat it and you act like it's good, right? Like you're not gonna honestly be like, "Oh yeah, this tastes like shit."
Well, as someone that cooks a lot, like there are times where I know that someone's doing something completely wrong, and I'm just like, don't say anything. Don't, because
Yep.
it's like that person at the gym that you know is going to injure themselves.
Yeah.
Yet somehow, if you walk over and speak to them about the fact that they're going to injure themselves, it's somehow there's something
Then
wrong
you're a
with it.
prick.
Even though you're actually looking out for their safety. Like I would have a completely destroyed rotator cuff if someone hadn't walked up to me and told me you're bench pressing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like if someone, I'm thankful for that guy.
Yeah.
I kind of knew him a little bit. Like we talked in the locker room and stuff, so he was comfortable enough to say that to me. But it's like I'm glad he said something. And it's like same for me. Like my sister's taught me some stuff about different cooking things because she's not bashful about telling me if I'm doing something in the least efficient way.
Yeah.
But it's like, but it's specifically about that whole fish thing. It's like, and another thing, Craig, you will never have to tell me to take the fish off. Fish does not get overcooked here.
Good.
And I
It
appreciate
doesn't
that
happen.
about you.
I know you do. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. Like there's all sorts of weird, because it's funny because it tells us a lot about ourselves as to what particular things make us uncomfortable. And maybe it says something about the South because we're all kids that have grown up in the South. And the one thing that we're on is like the fish thing, guys. The fish. How dare he? Yeah.
I can't believe he said,
Like,
take
why
my
would
fish
he
off.
ever?
I don't want it overcooked. I think that's the biggest problem with it, though. He suggests that he's going to overcook it.
Yeah.
It's not that he says, I want it cooked, not so much.
Al dente.
It's that the suggestion is you're going to overcook my fish, and that's not fucking okay. Take that shit off. Like it's
like you kill patients, not me.
Yeah. When it was, I don't remember the line right before that, but I got the feeling during at least my first and second watch through, I got the feeling that it was almost vindictive, that like something else happened before and it was like, oh, here's me biting back. Yeah, take my fish off or you're going to overcook it.
We didn't talk about the weird thing where she was asking information about the patient from him. The Range Rover and the Handy.
Was that weird? I thought that was just how you got hospital information. Every doctor I've had, when I needed to see my file, that's what I had to do.
100% of the time.
Yeah. Hold on. Is that not your experience with medical professionals?
I'm glad you're both not doctors. Both of you.
I get the feeling that Distance has never given a hand job in a Range Rover for his medical information. That's
not
strange.
For medical information.
Oh, okay.
Shit, a Range Rover. You're doing better than me. I did it in a transit van.
Oh my God. What do I do with you people? Oh, and I would like to raise a point. Craig, you did draw sort of a very like broad generalization about the whole steak thing.
Yeah.
Because you can ask for your steak however you want it done, except for well done, because I will ask you to leave my home.
Of course you would.
There's an episode of Ugly Delicious where David Chang talks about the prejudice against well done eaters.
What the fuck is Ugly Delicious?
It's a fantastic show.
It's a good
featuring
Netflix
David
show,
Chang
yeah.
on Netflix. It's something to watch now that you're bored out of your mind.
Dude, we've
Tiger
talked
King,
about
been that.
we've talked about
weeks.
We've talked about the series on YouTube, the 3 levels of different. They have a level 1 chef, a level 2 chef, and a level 3 chef cook the same meal. Did you see the one about steak?
I don't. Oh, did she? Is that the one where she talked about the bullshit about leaving the steak out before you cook it?
No, well, they had a question. They asked all 3 or 4. It's like, what's your opinion on well done steak? And it was like basically everyone was like, yeah, it's kind of wrong. It's like it's really like and someone made the point that it's like, if you like your steak well done, maybe you just don't like steak.
Yeah, I think I saw the hamburger episode. I might need to look up the steak one. I might actually need to watch that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, but Lee, when you say barbecue, you think that means cooking outdoors.
True.
Lee just said medium. I'm just kidding. Medium's fine. Medium's still good. It's like there's still a little bit of pink in there.
I go medium rare is usually where I go. But...
Well, Craig, when he cooks a steak, he's like, okay,
it's done. Yeah.
Like finished.
Depending on the cut, I don't usually like it that rare, but yeah. I really want to try sous vide. I've never had a sous vide cooked steak.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'd love to though. I've heard a lot of good stuff, but
yeah, I've only done sous vide fish, never
my
steak.
My friends in Colorado, Mel and Brian, they did sous vide steaks. They were pretty good.
Did they sous vide and then just quick sear it, or was it just sous vide the whole way?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
I just remember the flavor was excellent.
Good. Okay. You don't want to risk tapeworm. Yeah, dude. Lee, tapeworm is it's only gonna help you out, man.
I think I just belched right into the microphone. Sorry, listeners.
Oh, I loved it, man. So yeah, what else do you guys want to touch on for this movie? Was there anything we missed? Is there I want to ask you guys, was there a favorite theme that jumped out to you?
Colin
It was
Farrell's
fucked up. Yeah, actually, his mustache was pretty. It was a good mustache.
It was, yeah, definitely mustache goals for me. Yeah.
I think that the theme that I don't know if I necessarily enjoyed it the most, but the thing that popped out the most was the degree of cynicism, but also the fact that I don't know, man. I think that the running theme for me that I think was the most beneficial for me as a human, at least as far as like making me a better person goes, is just understanding that the idea of justice applies to us all, and that the best way to, at least it seems that the best way to right the situation is to not screw up in the first place.
Of course. Well, yeah.
If we're all aware of the things that we're doing and the pain that it can cause, that we can avoid the creepy boy that tells us we have to kill one of our family members in the future.
I did really like that Martin's idea of justice was consistent. It wasn't like we talked about earlier, of someone when it applies to them, it's different. Like when it came to the biting of the arm thing, it was like, oh no, here's how I make this right. Here's my idea of justice is it happened to you, so now it has to happen to me.
Yep.
What about you, Craig?
Three things that I come away with from this movie. Thing number one, Colin Farrell has played the same guy in at least 3 movies: In Bruges, The Lobster, and this movie, Killing of a Sacred Deer. Thing number two, Alicia Silverstone is still hot.
Agreed. I was like, was that Alicia Silverstone? Yes, sir.
And thing number three, the whole monotone, placid talking about serious things is unbelievably effective in making the audience uncomfortable in a movie.
I think we should have done the entire podcast like that. It was a big missed opportunity on our parts.
Oh, that actually would have been really funny.
I didn't think about that till literally right now. Yep.
I wouldn't have been able to do it.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
I don't have that kind of control. I would have laughed within the first 30 seconds.
Well, I wonder like how many takes. Well, I mean, okay, so they said they didn't pass around a memo to do that, but like how many takes had to be stopped because it was like, hold on, you were too animated. Let's bring that down to the normal energy of the set. Like,
we're going to need you to stop acting, please.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah.
Is there any way you could just read your lines and not act so much? That'd be great.
I know we call you an actor, but right now I just want you to be a reader, please. All right. Well, I mean, that's we literally touched on everything that I had in my notes. Has anyone else got anything else they want to bring up?
Oh, I do have a quote for this week.
Okay. Before you quote, Craig, did you have anything you wanted to bring up? Anything else? You look like you might have wanted to say something. I didn't want you to like miss out on your chance.
I got nothing, bud.
This is a prime opportunity to confess your undying love for me, if that's what you wanted to do. I saw it in your eyes.
That's common knowledge. I have the biggest boner for you of all.
I'm pretty sure he offered to be your girlfriend on the stream like last week.
That is true.
Except for Sarah. Obviously, my boner for Sarah is larger than my boner for anyone ever in the history of anything.
That's fair. That's fair. I'll take like a second rate boner.
Second biggest boner for you, Ty.
Do you ever have a moment where you think to yourself, that's definitely getting edited out?
Do you think I edit these?
Actually, that's the problem, is that we don't.
I clip
it's our
off
shtick that we don't edit anything.
I clip off a little bit at the beginning, a little bit at the end. I normalize the audio for everything, and then I do a fade in and a fade out, and then I export. That is it. That is all the editing this gets.
Excellent.
Except for sometimes I fucking edit that.
There is that. It makes it funnier when he bleeps it.
Yeah.
It really does.
All right, what's your quote for this week, man?
So the quote is from it's an unknown author. It's fucked up.
That's going to bring us to the end of another episode of the Metacast podcast. If you guys are watching this on YouTube and you've enjoyed the conversation, why don't you hit that like button, subscribe to keep up to date with what we're doing here, and comment below and tell us what you thought about the movie. Is there something that we didn't talk about that you found interesting? If you're interested in further taking part of the conversation or even possibly joining us as a guest on a future episode, join our Discord. The link is in the description down below. And we will be live next week, Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/TylerTV. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you have a great week.